and welcome to Copenhagen Day 10. A resignation that was, well, to be expected. That's the official line from the Danish minister, Connie Hedegaard, who resigned as the president of this summit. It sent some short-lived shockwaves across before her position was immediately taken up by the Danish Prime Minister. 10 days and still no commitments here in Copenhagen. Indeed, the drafts and blueprints are continuing to roll out. And while last night we saw a draft that had some blatant holes where figures should be, tonight we've seen those holes filled with a variety of statistical options on how much greenhouse gas emissions could be reduced and what funding could be put on the table to help developing nations adapt to climate change. But a lot of observers here in the summit could be forgiven for thinking that the talks are, in a way, going around in circles. The pressure is mounting, however, here, and it's not just inside the Bella Centre, but also on the outside. Increasingly, NGOs are feeling frustrated, all the more because they're being told that their numbers will be reduced. And on Friday, when the heads of state are here and the main decisions are going to be taken and signed, only 90 members of NGOs will be allowed inside the building. Well, today, angry at the lack of progress, one group of protesters tried to break into the Bella Centre. James Andre brings us now into the heart of that demonstration.
I don't know if I can still talk, but I'll try. We were arrested after we just left the Forestad station, and they've arrested all of us. I was with the press, accompanying the press, and they didn't. Okay, they're checking me now. I need my bag. Okay, so yeah, they've just arrested all of the group. I think some people managed to leave.
All we see is rights for commerce, for business. That's what comes first. And we represent the people. We are the civil society, and we have things to say. They must at least listen to us.
So now is the time when we have to form a group and to push into the center.
Fucking dogs are biting people.
Well, with just 2 days to go to find a common accord among over 190 nations joined here in Copenhagen, two of the big players, China and the United States, still aren't seeing eye to eye on a number of issues. For example, the amount of money that developed nations should be putting on the table to help their developing counterparts adapt. And indeed, China, for the moment at least, isn't ready to sign up to any legally binding agreements on their targets in the future. Well, joining me now to explain how she feels about her country's position is a senior scientist with Action 2030, Dale Wen. Now, Dale, thanks so much for joining us. Now, how do you feel? China is one of the world's biggest polluters. Should they not be doing more?
They are doing a lot, and let me set the record straight, comparing what China has put on the table with the US offer. So according to the Waxman-McKay bill of the US, they offer to cut emissions by 17% by year 2020 compared to base year 2005. So if we assume for these 15 years, US GDP growth at 2% a year, which is higher than its 1.9% growth of the last decades. And if you calculate their energy intensity reduction, it's actually only 38%, less than the 40 to 45 carbon intensity cut offered by the China. Not to mention that the US target is a soft target with offset, including carbon trading and LULUCF, while the Chinese target is a hard target without any offsetting. So it's like, what's the common ground here? When you really look at the numbers, what China, a developing country, still with tens of millions of people living under $1 per day, is offering a target better than the US. So how far can we go with this US exceptionalism and pretend this problem doesn't exist?
Well, Dale Wen, clearly some strong emotions there. Thank you for joining us. That was Dale Wen, a senior scientist with Action 2030. Well, indeed, China is the world's largest receiver of what are called carbon credits. That's money given for environmentally friendly businesses or enterprises that turn over a green leaf. But as you'll see in this next report from our correspondents in China, some of the money is given to people isn't always deserving.
A pile of rubbish transformed into an ecological project. For the past 3 years, the pipes snaking through this rubbish dump in China's Yunnan province have captured the highly polluting methane and other greenhouse gases released by the decomposing trash.
Look, we use these yellow pipes to suck the methane in. Then the gas will go to the factory where we switch it over to electricity.
The result, 10 million fewer cubic meters of methane released into the atmosphere each year. And there's an economic benefit too, thanks to the carbon credit system.
The project generates 70,000 tons of carbon credits each year. Then we sell them to an Italian company. This project wouldn't exist without the carbon credit system. It wouldn't be profitable.
It all adds up to hundreds of thousands of euros a year for Mr. Zhang's project. And as China seeks alternatives to coal for producing its electricity, wind power, biogas and solar energy now generate billions of tons of carbon credits annually. It's a fast-growing business.
Because China is a big carbon emitter, so we should reduce where there's most carbon emitted. It also has a very decisive political system, so when they decide to move ahead, they will move ahead. The whole infrastructure in finance and in construction and everything is available here, and they're used to big projects. So we know exactly what permits and approvals are needed to move ahead.
But some organizations are worried. At Greenpeace China, they argue that some of the money set aside for carbon credits is being swallowed up by projects which don't really need it.
A lot of these projects, they already make money, so they don't actually need this additional resources from the CDM project. By actually allowing these projects to be registered as a CDM actually takes resources away from those projects that could add much more value to the whole climate protection.
The carbon credit market is driving the growth of some real green projects in China, but there are others which are exploiting its loopholes and lack of transparency. Building a better balanced and more efficient system may be an urgent priority for the Copenhagen summit.
Well, that's where we're going to have to leave it for tonight, but do join us again at the same time for all that's happened in Copenhagen Day 11.
Eva Irvine, many thanks indeed for that update from